First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
The search that took place revealed that there were 12 pipe bomb type devices found in that house or in the garage to that house.
Police are left with more questions and answers the day after a mass shooting in California that killed 14 people. Tonight we're learning more about the couple behind yesterday's shooting in San Bernardino. It's Thursday, December 3rd. I'm Jenna Sands.
And I'm James Torres. Thanks for joining us. As bad as yesterday's attack was, it could have been a lot worse, according to details released by investigators today. The two shooters had massive numbers of weapons in their possession and at their home. NBC's Gina Kim has the latest.
After spending all night and morning searching the suspect's home and SUV, the San Bernardino police chief said the husband and wife team of Syed Rizwan Farouk and Tashfeen Malik was prepared for major carnage.
Clearly they were equipped and they could have continued to do another attack. We intercepted them before that happened, obviously.
On their bodies and in their car, they had 1,600 rounds of ammunition. At their home, they had thousands more, along with at least 12 pipe bombs and the tools to make IEDs, improvised explosive devices. They attempted to use one of those pipe bombs during their attack at the Inland Regional Center, but it didn't work.
If you look at the amount of obvious pre-planning that went in, the amount of armaments that he had, the weapons and the ammunition, there was obviously a mission here.
The assailants targeted a holiday Christmas party for Farouk's co-workers. Witnesses say he had attended the party, left, and came back with his wife to unleash the attack.
We do not know why. We don't know if this was the intended target or if there was something that triggered him to do this immediately. We just don't know.
Law enforcement sources say Farouk, a U.S.-born citizen, met Malik online and both entered the U.S. in July of 2014. Malik, a Pakistani citizen, was here on a visa. They got married and have a 6-month-old child they leave behind. Farouk reportedly was in touch with others in the L.A. area who have expressed jihadist views and appears to have been radicalized. Officials are not commenting on a motive, and the president says this is now an FBI investigation.
It is possible that this was terrorist related, but we don't know.
It's the start of a long investigation as the community of San Bernardino faces an even longer road of recovery.
Now, a vigil will be held this Saturday in Gainesville for the victims of the shooting. The ceremony will be held at 10 a.m. at the Bartley Temple United Methodist Church. And the Florida Supreme Court has approved new congressional districts to be used for the rest of the decade. Alachua County will now be placed entirely in Ted Yoho's district, but the Republican lost turf in Columbia, Dixie, Gilchrist, and Levy counties. Democrat Corinne Brown will no longer represent any part of Alachua County. Instead, her district now stretches due west from her base in Jacksonville. Brown may head back to court, arguing the change reduces the effective clout of minority voters in the region.
Waldo was on the losing end of school consolidation.
But the city still hopes to put an empty and locked school building to some use. Elgin Rucker joins us now.
Waldo didn't want to lose its local school operations in the first place. But now that kids are bussed off, the old facility still looks too good to leave dormant. Waldo Community School used to breathe life into the small town. Take a trip there now, and you'll be lucky to find a pulse. The last school in Waldo was closed for this school year due to low efficiency and low enrollment. The empty feeling of the area mirrors the empty rooms, but the city is committed to filling them back up somehow.
We're really looking at maintaining ownership of the building, but working out some sort of a lease agreement with the city of Waldo so that they can use it, both the inside of the building and the fields.
Former students now travel 20 minutes away to Shell Elementary in Hawthorne, but have little to do when they get home. What used to be the heart of the city of Waldo is now just an empty space with abandoned potential. The school has 2 playgrounds, a basketball court, and a baseball diamond, which are currently not being utilized. The facility is currently being kept up, but not used, and the community wants that to change.
Obviously, what the mayor and the council and all of us would like to see is that the city does get to use the school for a nominal fee, and that we could open up the facilities for the kids, because they're beautiful playgrounds.
There is currently no timetable for the agreement. Besides more access for recreational programs, the agreement could also include the use of the empty school buildings for City Hall and other businesses. Elgin Rucker, WUFT News.
Thanks, Elgin. We felt a huge change in temperatures today.
Absolutely, and I would call it a relief. And UF forecaster Rebecca Copeman has been tracking the cooler weather. Rebecca, does that also mean a cooler night tonight?
Temperatures are going to be cool tonight, but not as cold as they could be because we're going to have clouds sticking around, and that'll prevent temperatures from falling quite as far. It's already 64 degrees outside right now. Compare that to what it was yesterday. It's 13 degrees cooler, so there has been quite a difference. Our high temperature yesterday was 81 degrees, so a welcome change indeed. The temperatures right now across the area: 64 Gainesville, 56 already in Lake City, 54 in Tallahassee, 68 in Ocala, and tonight temperatures are going to fall into the 50s, 53 degrees in Gainesville, 57 in Ocala, and we did only hit 56 degrees this morning in Gainesville, so it's a couple of degrees cooler, but you'll likely need the jackets when you head out in the morning. There could even be some areas of some drizzle and a few showers along the East Coast tonight. Back to you.
Thanks, Rebecca. A South African appeals court today convicted Oscar Pistorius of murder, overturning a lower court's conviction of the double amputee Olympian on the lesser charge of culpable homicide for shooting his girlfriend to death in 2013. NBC's Jeff Rawson reports from Pretoria, South Africa.
He's found guilty of culpable homicide.
Oscar Pistorius had been convicted of manslaughter for shooting and killing his model girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp. But today here in South Africa, the appeals court came out and blasted the original judge, saying Pistorius should have been convicted of murder from the very beginning and changed the verdict. And so now Oscar Pistorius is officially a convicted murderer. He will now have to be resentenced. The guidelines for sentencing here in South Africa, murder, the very minimum is 15 years in prison. What's confusing a bit right now is that he's still here at his uncle's luxurious mansion on house arrest, still serving that old sentence. He was released early from prison on a 5-year sentence. He only served 1 year in prison, so he's been here. The Pistorius family releasing a statement today saying their legal team will now take a look at the ruling and decide where to go from here, but will not comment any further at this time. They could appeal to the Constitutional Court. That's basically South Africa's version of the U.S. Supreme Court, but unclear if that court would even take the case. So now all eyes are on this house. Do the police show up here and rearrest Pistorius? Does he have to surrender at all? It's truly unprecedented here. No one really knows. We are told, though, his resentencing will likely happen in a month or two, and Pistorius himself could speak, making a personal plea for a light sentence.
The U.S. military is opening all combat posts to women. U.S. Secretary of Defense Ash Carter made that historic announcement earlier today. He says women will be able to fill all jobs currently limited to men, including infantry, as well as some special operation units.
They'll be able to serve as Army Rangers and Green Berets, Navy SEALs, Marine Corps infantry, Air Force parajumpers, and everything else that was previously open only to men. And even more importantly, our military will be better able to harness the skills and perspectives that talented women have to offer.
Now, the decision comes after reviews and public pushback from some within the military. The Marine Corps had sought exceptions to the new rule, at one point releasing a study suggesting all male squads are more effective in combat than integrated groups. Carter says all jobs will be open to women starting 30 days from today.
This is inauguration week for the University of Florida's new president, Dr. Ken Fox.
That's right, and for him, the week's been packed with meetings, ceremonies, even a trip to Tallahassee to see the new Senate president. WUFT's Maria Edinger tells us the UF's president trip to Florida's capital is the first of many to come.
That's right. That's because the new Senate president, Joe Negron, is promising to boost Florida's university's statuses in order to compete with other elite schools in the nation. Negron invited President Fox to an event where he was designated the Senate president. Fox flew over yesterday for the ceremony at 2, but came straight back to town for meetings today.
UF President Kent Fox says he hopes to build relationships with lawmakers in Tallahassee. For the University of Florida, this is probably an excellent time for that, since incoming Senate President Joe Negron says he wants to improve the reputation of state schools.
4 priorities that he described, and the very first one was to make Florida's good universities great. I love that.
During his inauguration week, Fox has been talking a lot about how to make UF great. He's mentioned his goals in the past, but today he met with people who will put his plans into place.
President Kent Fox attended several different committees meetings today, like the one on governance. He also went to one for audits and operations and one on finance. Now, that last one is important because yesterday, the new Florida Senate President, Joe Negron, said he'd like to increase funding for colleges and universities in the state by $1 billion.
It's been nominally funded, and it's lower than states that we want to and need to compete with.
Negron also wants to increase the Bright Future Scholarship Program to cover the majority of the costs of college. Inauguration week did have some fun and games, a showcase for different UF programs at a tent on campus where Fox mingled with students, but it's been largely business. UF invited professors from other universities like Harvard, Yale, UNC, and Michigan State to tour UF.
You know, there's potential for research, there's potential for staff recruitment or faculty recruitment at some point, but it's always important to talk up the University of Florida with those at other universities.
Fox says he'll be in and out of Tallahassee talking to legislators every week for the next month or so, leading up to the legislative session in January. His installation ceremony as UF's 12th president is tomorrow at 3 o'clock before an invitation-only crowd at University Auditorium.
Full disclosure, WUFT News is a service of the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, and many of our media platforms will carry the installation ceremony live. You can listen on WUFT-FM, monitor the live stream on WUFT.org, or watch right here on WUFT TV.
All right, Marie, thank you. Well, WUFT News First at 5 is just getting started. Later in the show, we'll show you how some people live in luxury for some Gator football games.
Plus, researchers say climate change could have deadly consequences. Those stories and more coming up after the break.
And it's cool out there now, but if you're wondering how long the cool weather will last, I'm going to break down what you can expect for this weekend and for those of you heading to Atlanta as well after the break. Stay with us.
Watching WUFT TV News.
Welcome back. On Thursdays, we like to have a little time for some health news.
And our health reporter Danielle Prince joins us now.
Tonight we start with our health news today with the science on climate change deaths. Researchers with the World Health Organization are warning that by 2030, climate change will mean a minimum of 250,000 additional deaths per year. At the UN Climate Change Conference in Paris, leaders are aiming for a new deal that puts the world back on track to limit global warming. Scientists say climate change affects everything, and it will take a toll on malnutrition, increased malaria, and other factors.
Health is central to the climate change agreement. It was one of the three main motivations for writing the original treaty in 1992. And the reason that we are so concerned about the effects of climate change on health are that many of the largest disease problems that we face are highly sensitive to climate conditions.
In Paris, negotiators from 195 countries are working on a climate pact, but the draft is 50 pages long and is full of tough issues to settle. New findings are leading researchers to believe too many Americans are not doing enough to treat bad cholesterol, even though most are eligible for treatment. The CDC says more than half of Americans who are eligible to take cholesterol-lowering drugs are not taking them. People at risk for heart disease are among those eligible to take these medications. Doctors also recommend getting more exercise, eating a healthy diet, and losing weight to control high cholesterol, yet less than half are making these lifestyle changes. Infants and toddlers may suffer from wheezing if their mother took antibiotics late in pregnancy. A study done in Italy followed more than 3,000 pregnant women and their children for 18 months. Researchers found exposure to antibiotics during the first trimester had no direct effect on childhood wheezing. But when it was the third trimester, there was a higher risk that could not be explained by other factors like mother smoking or a family history of asthma. The Department of Health and Human Services announced fewer patients are dying as a result of hospital-acquired infections. Between 2010 and 2014, there was a 17% decline in hospital-acquired conditions, including catheter-associated infections, adverse drug events, and surgical site infections. The decline translates to a savings of nearly $20 billion in healthcare costs. Applebee's and IHOP will remove sodas from being advertised on children's menus. If a kid happens to want a soda, it will still be available for order, but it won't be shown on the children's menu. Leading fast food restaurants such as McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and Dairy Queen have already made this move. You know, James and Jenna, I'm wondering if removing these sodas from the options is really going to have an effect.
I mean, it can either go one of two ways. I mean, either kids know, hey, when I'm eating, I want a soda, or they're actually going to look at the menu and decide, oh, I guess chocolate milk or lemonade will be better.
Yeah, but I like the idea of just not even having the option in general, you know, just being forced to kind of look at the lemonade or the milk. So not giving the option, that might be interesting to see.
Hopefully it goes that healthy way.
Yeah.
Time will tell. Thanks, Danielle. A dairy farm in Trenton is doing its part to be environmentally friendly.
And it's primarily using cow manure to do so. WUFT's Taylor Trichet joins us from the newsroom with the details. Taylor, I imagine all that manure made for a smelly day.
Well, James and Jenny, you would be surprised. Alliance Dairy Farms recycles cow manure in many ways. One of them to make bedding for the cows. I put my nose into a handful of the bedding, and there was actually no smell at all.
Well over 7,000 cows reside at Alliance Dairy Farms. Each cow eats more than 50 pounds of food each day, and as you can guess, produces a lot of waste. But when you step foot on this dairy farm, you won't be overwhelmed with the smell.
The liquid manure that goes out onto the fields now, the neighbors, they don't smell, so it doesn't smell like a dairy any longer. And that's been the primary complaint of dairies from years and years, is the odor.
The lack of manure smell actually comes from one of the farm's 5 innovative environmental projects. And neighbors can thank the farm's anaerobic methane digester for the odor control.
The way that the energy is generated from the methane is that it goes into the digester that we're standing on, and because there's no oxygen in here, it's an anaerobic process, and there's methogens, which is a bacteria that will break down the manure products, the organics, and a byproduct of that biological activity is methane gas.
Alliance Dairies is the only farm in the state of Florida with one of these digesters, costing roughly $8 million to construct. The dairy farm is also one of only a few farms in Florida that recycles cow manure in a variety of ways, recycling their manure for irrigation, dry cow bedding, and even electricity.
About 70% of all the electricity on this dairy farm comes from these cows' manure, helping to run this milking parlor and another one like it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Community members appreciate the farm's positive example in sustainability.
Well, it ties in all of the things about sustainability that you teach throughout the year. Runoff, nitrates, how to use that, how to put it back in the environment, their digester, the methane use. All of those key points tie into sustainability, which is the whole point of our AP environmental curriculum.
The farm continues to look for new ways to be sustainable.
We obviously, as a dairy farm, we do use a lot of water. One of the ways that we think we could conserve water, conserve fresh water, is by being allowed to flush our parlor with recycled water instead of fresh water.
The hope of using more recycled water in other areas of the farm, like the milking parlor, will only help the farm get better.
You know, there's just so much recycling that goes on around here. It is pretty amazing.
Alliance Dairy Farms is looking into using recycled water instead of fresh water when it comes to cleaning out the milking parlor. So far, the Agricultural Commissioner made a trip to the farm to discuss this new idea. Reporting from the newsroom, Taylor Trichet, WUFT News.
All right, Taylor, thank you. Well, if you got outside today, you were probably surprised that you needed a jacket.
I know, it was cooler today than it has been in the past month, and UF forecaster Rebecca Copeland is joining us to let us know just how long we can expect this cooler weather to last. Rebecca?
Temperatures are going to stay cool and near average through this weekend, which is unusual because we've had these cool days and then we bounce right back to near 80 degrees. But it's actually going to stick for quite some time. So that's one of the 3 big things that you need to know. We have a strong onshore flow. That's going to lead to it staying a bit cooler because it's a flow out of the north and east. It'll be breezy, cloudy, and there could be a few spotty showers in areas of drizzle. There are still some questions with the next front, though. There's some uncertainty with the rain chances for Monday, but behind the front, it will be cool, not cold. Temperatures only near normal by Tuesday and Wednesday. Here's part of point number 1 there, that we do have a few areas of drizzle, some light rain moving in from the Gulf Coast. This is behind the cold front that moved through earlier this morning. That's why it's feeling so much nicer outdoors. So there could still be some areas of some light rain and some drizzle out there. Temperatures are going to fall, but the clouds are going to stick around, so it's not going to be quite as cool as it could be. 53 Gainesville, 55 in Cedar Key. Temperatures will warm up on Friday afternoon only to about 70 degrees in most spots, and there will be a nice breeze. Winds will be about 10 to 15 miles an hour inland, even higher along the east coast, and there could once again be a couple of showers moving in. The winds, though, they're going to be quite strong, could be sustained near 15 miles an hour in Gainesville. Along the east coast, there are small craft advisories in effect through Sunday, so not a great weekend to head out to the Atlantic beaches. Winds staying sustained at 25 miles an hour there through the afternoon tomorrow, even along the west coast, 20 miles an hour in Cedar Key, and this continues through the night on Friday night and into Saturday, where winds will likely stay sustained above that 20 mile an hour mark and stay sustained inland, which will lead to some comfortable conditions throughout this weekend. And if you're maybe not staying in town and thinking about Atlanta, well, most of the southeast is going to be dry, but there is some activity occurring in South Florida where there could be some heavy rainfall over the next couple of days. That'll move out to sea, and we could have just a couple of showers moving inland here for the rest of this weekend. And then you can start to see point number 2 here, parts of that system developing on Monday along the east coast, but we still have to work out some details with that system. Now here's the forecast for this SEC championship weekend. Going to be cool there, so you'll likely need the jackets. Temperatures in the 50s in the afternoons, nights in the 30s. You can get more on your game day forecast at ufweather.org. But if you're staying in town, still going to be nice here. Low chance of a rain through Saturday, breezy, cool, temperatures near average. We warm up just a little bit by Monday. Then we have a next chance for rain, cooling down just slightly, point number 3 by Tuesday and Wednesday. Back to you.
Rebecca, thank you. Well, the Gator volleyball team will be in the O-Dome tonight, but not as the home team.
They're serving as the host for the first round of the NCAA tournament. WFT Sports anchor Connor Ingalls joins us now.
That's right, guys. Florida takes on New Hampshire tonight. We'll give you head coach Mary Wise's thoughts on the first round. Plus, I'll tell you why the Gators are a near lock tonight. I'll give you a hint. It's because of Coach Wise's record in NCAA openers. All of that and more in sports coming up after the break. The first Florida Gators postseason contest of the 2015-16 school year is tonight, and it's going on right here in Gainesville. Welcome back to sports. I'm Connor Ingalls. The Gator volleyball team will host the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament in the O'Connell Center this weekend. Tournament action in the O-Dome is actually already underway. Arizona State and Florida State are playing right now. Florida will take to the court after that one to face off against the New Hampshire Wildcats. Although a possible second round date with FSU looms large, Gators head coach Mary Wise says her team isn't overlooking New Hampshire.
We don't make a big deal about brackets or matchups. It's only that team. What you're trying to do is win back-to-back matches, and you can never talk about that back end without focusing entirely on the front end.
You got to believe Wise when she says that. The Gators have won in the first round each season in her career at Florida. That's 24 straight times. First serve between the Gators and Wildcats should come sometime around 7. Chances are, if you're a football fan, you've tailgated before, but in Gainesville, there are some folks who take it to the next level. WUFT's Jonathan Perez gives us an inside look at what it's like to tailgate in a home away from home.
If you've ever been in Gainesville on Saturdays during game days, you know it typically entails a barbecue, a few games of cornhole, and great company. But have you ever tailgated in one of these? The commuter lot near UF's campus is filled with RVs, driven by die-hard Gator fans who have tailgated in RV fashion for years.
I would say in this spot, going on 10 years, but other spots probably up as to 20 years.
There's lots of mileage on these vehicles as some fans are traveling from Melbourne, McClenny, and even Atlanta for every home game. But some of these RVs just roll in with a little more style.
It was definitely my husband's idea from start to finish. I never could have envisioned this. All the way up from Melbourne, Florida here. We get gator chomps and we get cars honking and a lot of people taking pictures from their cell phones.
There are RVs in the lot that range from $100,000 to even $1 million, and they have everything you need for a perfect tailgate right here in Gainesville. There's a full-size refrigerator, a TV, and while you relax on the nice leather couch in front of the fireplace, you can even do some laundry. All of this, of course, under the nice, refreshing cool air from your AC. But how much is it really to tailgate this way?
Oh gosh.
Oh wow.
It's a lot.
I wouldn't have a clue. If I figured that up, I probably wouldn't come.
Sure, it's a bit expensive, but these fans will be the first to tell you there's nothing like tailgating alongside your friends and your set of wheels.
You're around the same people, and that's what makes it fun. You get to cook with the same people and have a cocktail in the evenings and just enjoy yourself.
Jonathan Perez, WUFT Sports.
That's what fans get to do on game days? Chose the wrong profession. There won't be tailgating in Gainesville this weekend, but I don't think anyone's complaining because the Gators will be in Atlanta to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide for the SEC Championship. Bama comes in as a huge 17-point favorite, making the Gators the second biggest underdog in SEC Championship history. But head coach Jim McElwain says that at Florida, you shouldn't be worried about playing anyone.
Because you're one of those Gators, it should never matter what you're up against. And, you know, there's a certain sense of, it's not cocky, it's calm, and it's a belief. And, you know, that's something our guys are kind of starting to learn.
We'll see if the Gators come out with that confidence in the Georgia Dome Saturday. Kickoff is at 4.
Thank you. We'll be back tomorrow at 5, but your Florida news is always on at WUFT.org.
And here on WUFT TV, BBC World News is up next, and the PBS NewsHour is coming up at 7 o'clock. Have a good night.